Hey, boys and girls, this is day 3 in our content packet number 5. We're going to keep going with the simple machines. Yesterday, we learned about the first two, and those first two were the wedge and the lever. And hopefully, you can remember the purpose of using a wedge or using a lever. If you ever forget, or if you ever need to go back and review why we use these things or what their purpose is, just go back into your digital notebook, like where I am right now. So we're going to get started today. This is the page from yesterday. This is just kind of a review, and it says a lever helps lift things. Which picture below is not a lever? So which one does not help you lift something? And we talked yesterday about how the first one is kind of like a seesaw that you can push down on one end and the other end lifts up. The shovel actually acts as a lever because it helps you lift something easier. Instead of bending down and standing back up, you can just use the shovel. And the last one is kind of like a crowbar type thing, which has a fulcrum down at the bottom and helps you push down and lift up or roll over something large like that man is trying to do. And the last picture is actually a wedge. And a wedge is has a sharp point to it, and it helps break something apart or go into something, pierce into something. And we talked yesterday about how that shovel is actually both a lever and a wedge. So hopefully that didn't confuse you. Remember, the wedge is the sharp part. The lever is the part that you hold that helps you move something around. So today we're going to move on to two other simple machines. The first one is called a pulley, and the other one is called an inclined plane. Now, I'm sure you've seen examples of both of these things. I know it's probably no surprise. But what we're going to do is we're going to learn why they're used in work, and what is different about them. What is different about them in regards to all of the other simple machines. So let's take a look in our packet here. Our packet is on day 3. We're in section 1, and we're going to use page 5 here to fill in the missing information. So let's start off with pulley. A pulley helps blank things up and blank them down. So you can see those two examples. We've got a crane, okay, a crane truck on the left, and then there's just a basic rope pulley on the right there. So when we think about how we use a pulley, we're either going to be lifting something up or lowering something down. So a pulley helps pull things up or lift things up and lower them back down. Okay, so you can fill in those missing words there. It's very easy to remember what a pulley does because it's actually in the name pulley. You pull on a rope and something comes up, or you let go of the rope and that something goes back down. And you can see there's kind of a little wheel type thing on there where the rope can turn on. It makes it easier that way. The second one we had today is an inclined plane. I'll let you read that to yourself, and then we're going to think about the missing words. An inclined plane helps blank things up and down. Another word for this is a blank. So you can look at the picture, and there's an arrow pointing to that board that the man is actually walking on. And all an inclined plane is something that you can walk up or walk down to help you move something. So it helps push things up and down. That man's pushing a wheelbarrow. Instead of lifting that wheelbarrow up to where he's going, he's using this, what's called an inclined plane, to make it easier to go up. We have another word for these things, and that word is ramp. And I know you all have probably used that or seen that word before. So those are our two simple machines for today. What I want you to do now is I want you to go to section 2 in your packet. Okay, I want you to go to these examples down here. And I want you to take a look at all of these examples. I think I have one here. There we go. So I'm going to make myself smaller here so we can look at each of these pictures. So we've got 6 examples. And these examples are either going to be a pulley that helps you pull something up or lower something down, or it's going to be an inclined plane. which helps you move something or push something up or down. So they're both moving things up and down, but it's different on how they're doing it. A pulley, you have a rope and you kind of either pull it up or let it down. An inclined plane is kind of just a ramp that helps you get from one place to another. So take a minute, go through these 6 examples, and think about what simple machine is being used in these examples. Okay? And then you can click play when you want to go over the answers. All right, so hopefully you're back. Hopefully that wasn't too hard for you. Hopefully you're back looking for the answers. Now, these water wells, this is not how we usually fetch our water here in our country. But there are places in the world that have to access their water by using one of these water wells. Now, what happens is you lower this bucket down into this deep hole where groundwater has filled up, and you lower this bucket down, and when you pull it back up, it fills the pail with water. Obviously, you can see that tool being used there. It's not a ramp, okay? It's that wheel, and it has that rope attached to it to make it easier. So that's a water well as an example of a pulley. What about crane? Take a look at that crane. And we saw it in our digital notebook too. Cranes are used to lift something very, very high and set it down onto something that's very, very high, somewhere that a ladder probably couldn't take you. And also things that are very, very heavy that we couldn't simply just lift up ourselves. And if you look closely, cranes actually use, maybe we can see it in this picture a little bit more. Let me zoom in. Cranes actually use a bunch of ropes and cables that actually go around all of these wheels up in here to make it very, very simple, very easy. It requires very little effort to lift a heavy load. The more ropes, the easier it is. The more pulleys, the easier it is. But here's the catch. The more rope you add to a pulley, the longer it takes to lift that object up. So if it's a very, very, very heavy object, you need more pulleys and more ropes. If it's light, then maybe 1 or 2 pulleys would do the trick. But the more weight or the more effort you need, the more force you need, the more pulleys you need to lift something up. So anyways, a crane is an example of a pulley. How about a staircase? A staircase lets you go up or lets you go down. And that's in easy terms, that's a ramp. Okay. I know sometimes you think of a ramp being smooth, like this skateboard jump down here, but anything that helps you get from one level to the next level is an inclined plane or an incline. How about a flagpole? How do we get the flagpole from the bottom of the flagpole to the top of the flagpole? Well, again, there's this little wheel right here and a rope attached to both of them. And when you pull down on one end, guess what? The other end goes up. That's a pulley. And a skateboard jump. Now, this isn't really a tool that helps us do work, but it is something that we enjoy doing. And it's something that is an example of a simple machine. And this is an inclined plane because it goes from low to high. And the last one is a ladder. A ladder is pretty similar to a staircase. So with that being said, a ladder helps you get from a low point to a high point without having to just jump all the way up. So a ladder is actually an inclined plane as well. Great job with those examples. I'm going to pause us for just a second, and I'm going to go over section 3 with y'all. So we've already learned about 4 of the simple machines: wedge, lever, pulley, and inclined plane. We actually only have 2 more to go. There's only 6. So today, your practice is going to be 3 different things. Number 1, you're going to go to your digital notebook. Well, it's not digital for you. You're going to go to your notebook packet. You're going to go to page 6, and you're going to answer this question. Page 7. Which simple machine would make it easier to pull a heavy bucket up from a water well? I hope this isn't very difficult for you. What would help you pull something up that was down in a water well? Now, if you don't know what a water well is, we've already talked about it. It's not really the kind of water well we use to access our water, but I did show you a picture of it before, an example of it before. It's actually Annie from Brain Pop. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, you are going to find your Simple Machines page 1. And they look very similar to each other. The only difference is this one has a number 1 on it. The other one has a number 2. And I want you to read and do number 1, number 2, number 5, and number 6. I wonder why. Well, each of these is one of the simple machines we've already learned about. So your answers are either going to be a wedge, lever, pulley, or inclined plane. I would never ask you to know something that I haven't taught you already. So I've already taught you about these 4 simple machines. As you're doing page 1, I want you to think of those and think about which example is being described, okay? If you need to, remember, go back into your notebook packet or go back into your vocabulary. If you forget what a lever does, go back and read the definition of a lever, okay? That will help you. After number 2 comes number 3. And you're going to go to your Simple Machines page 2, and that's the one with a number 2 on it, like so. Okay, and this is the one where you need to describe what you see happening. And yesterday, I think you did numbers 1 and number 6. Today, what I want you to do is number 3 and number 4. Okay? Again, just like yesterday, it was about the simple machines you learned about. Today, same deal. It's either going to be an example of a pulley or an inclined plane. So don't stress about it if you can't think, oh my gosh, I haven't learned about this yet. Yes, you have. Okay. After that, y'all, you're done for the day. So you'll come back tomorrow. We'll learn about our last 2 simple machines. That'll be on day 4. Okay. But I want you to keep practicing those vocabulary words. Effort, force, gravity, load, work. I want you to practice those words and remember what they mean, because we're continuing to talk about those words at every time we learn about a new simple machine. So practice those. Practice describing a wedge, a lever, an inclined plane, and a pulley. Maybe look for some around you in your house. Maybe try to find an example of each. I guarantee you have one of each of these somewhere. Okay, so take a look around. Great work today. Come on back tomorrow for the last 2. Peace out.